Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you guys pay attention to the community tab over on my YouTube homepage there, I usually try to post up various behind the scenes things, or occasionally maybe I'll throw up a poll. And the question I asked in Friday's video and the question I asked in the poll was, do you guys want to see me harvest potatoes? Well, nobody as of the making of this video has left any comments on Friday's video about wanting to see me harvest potatoes. But you have turned around and said on my community page on the YouTube channel that it was a yes/no question. Do you want to see me harvest potatoes? And 5 of you, which is probably the most amount of people that usually watch this channel, said yes, we want to see you harvest your potatoes. So today we're going to be harvesting potatoes. But before we get into that, you might have noticed in the intro shots a little brown furry thing following behind me. Hold on. This adorable little puppy is Sophie. She is a miniature schnauzer, and she's my new garden helper. So you guys will be seeing her around here on some of the videos. Maybe not all of the videos, but many of the videos, because I don't want to bring her out when it's 100 degrees out. And today is going to be a hot one, but I think we can get some shots in here with her. Yes. So she won't actually be helping me harvest potatoes because she's still so tiny. Maybe next year when she's a little bigger. So you'll probably see her on some of my Instagram photos and definitely on this channel from time to time. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. This way you get to see more of my antics and more of Sophie here, right? All right. Let's start looking at potatoes. This is the raised bed that I planted up with potatoes earlier in the year, obviously. And we have 2 varieties here, Yukon Gold and German Butterball. So yeah, I'm just going to start trying to pluck some of these guys out. I am going to use a few tools here. One is my my pruners here, maybe to chop off some of the tops as needed, and of course gloves, because I do believe that there might be some fire ants in this bed. And also I'm going to get myself maybe a small shovel here to help me pry them out, and we will see what kind of harvest we get. The only thing I did with this bed when I planted it up was, obviously I amended the soil earlier in the season, but I planted the seed potatoes probably 6 to 8 inches, if not a little deeper down. This way I wouldn't have to pile soil on top, and that's again just to protect potatoes as they start pushing up. If a plant produces a lot of potatoes, then they can start pushing up and then sometimes get exposed, and then yeah, you have a problem of poisonous potatoes. Green potatoes, never eat them. Bad for you. Let me just start cutting and chopping here, and we'll see what we get out of this bed. Well, I found the ants, so I'm going to see if I can get the rest of this harvested here without getting too bit up. Ow. Okay, so these are my German Butterball, and these are the Yukon Golds. I don't think that's too bad for a handful of plants. I think I had roughly 4 to 6 plants. Unfortunately, I can't touch any of these anymore because they're just now lousy and crawling with fire ants, and I've already gotten bit a few times, which is why I wear gloves to try to keep them from biting my fingers, which is probably worse than my wrists or forearms. Either way, not all of these potatoes are going to be viable, unfortunately, because of insect damage. I can already see that there was looks like something bored into a couple of these, but I do see quite a few good ones. So overall, I don't think it's that bad of a haul. I'll wait till later, and then I'll scoop these things up once the fire ants have calmed down a bit here. They are just lousy all over everything right now. All of the greens from the potatoes I just put in my compost pile. So let's now move on to the bags. Editing Jay here. It's the end of the day of the harvesting of the potatoes, and I went back to the one raised bed where I had the potatoes, Yukon Gold, and German Butterball, and I had some beautiful, nice sized potatoes. But as I came out here to the garden, I smelled something, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And I started going back to grab those potatoes to put them inside the greenhouse here to dry out. And I knew I had some insect damage on them, but I didn't know how much. And well, it turns out I had a lot of insect damage. Every single potato, big or small, had a hole in it. And again, I had fire ants in that bed. So I'm just gonna blame the fire ants that they drilled holes right through all those potatoes and not any other insect. I'm throwing the fire ants completely under the bus, because when I took all those potatoes and I put them in a bucket, and I'll tell you why in a second, I probably had about 20 pounds of potatoes. That's a lot of potatoes. But every single one of them had some sort of damage. And that funky smell I smelt was potato rot. If you've ever smelled potatoes rotting, or if you ever have potatoes rot on you, they emit a horrible smell. It's just nasty. So I lost about 20 pounds of potatoes from that bed. I didn't think the damage was that bad. I was wrong. You know, I can only hope, well, next year I definitely will grow all my potatoes in bags so I don't have this issue again. And I can only hope that the same thing doesn't happen to the sweet potatoes that I've planted out there. So no sign of ants there, but you never know. And I can only hope that those sweet potatoes fare a lot better. No insect damage, cross my fingers and toes. But we'll find out in the fall. Back to your regularly scheduled video. Now my bag potatoes should be a little easier to handle and deal with, but I will still wear my gloves just in case some ants have gotten in there and made homes. The fire ants they're just relentless. The bed I was just pulling out of, they basically work their way up through about 2 feet of wood chips that are probably rotting down, and then another roughly 1.5 feet at least of raised bed mix. They don't care. They're just searching always for higher ground to get away from the rain and the moisture, where they can raise their nice little colonies of more destructive monsters. So I'm going to take these bags and I'm going to bring them over to one of the raised beds that I've emptied out now, and I'm just going to dump each bag into the raised bed. It'll do 2 things. One, I can then dig through the pile easier and see what we have so far as a harvest. And then 2, all that potting soil that I used for these will go into the raised bed, thus raising up the soil, because as I mentioned in prior videos, the soil in the raised beds sinks as the wood chips beneath rot down. Let's start grabbing bags and start emptying. These first 6 bags I'm doing here are German Butterball. Whew. It's getting hot. And summer's not even here yet. So not too bad of a haul on the German Butterballs from the bags. I would have to say so far, growing in the bags is definitely the superior method if you want a cleaner, wholer potato. These German Butterballs, excellent so far from what I can see. There's a lot of small ones, but the small ones you can use in mashed potatoes, put them in a stew, or a bunch of other things. Let me take these potatoes. I'm actually going to put them into the greenhouse so they can start airing out and drying. And we'll grab some of the other varieties and see how they performed in comparison. A couple of notes on the potatoes. Yes, I was dumping the bags here, and there's a chance that some of the smaller potatoes may fall into the bed itself and wind up growing. That's fine. I can treat it like a weed if I want it to point and pull it out, or just let it sit in the bed and do its thing and maybe harvest it at a later date. And same thing goes for the compost pile. If there's still some little seed potatoes or little baby potatoes that are on the stems when I throw them into the compost pile and they start again growing there, that's fine. I can just pull them out, treat it like a weed. The potatoes I put into the greenhouse, I just put there because I have the wire racks so air can circulate around them. If you lay out your potatoes like that, they can dry up a bit, almost like when you're curing the garlic. This is for the new gardeners. You experts, you know all this, but it thickens up or hardens up the skin, allows the skin to start drying, as it were, and again, hardens it up. Now, you don't have to do this if you intend on eating the potatoes the day you harvest them. If you intend to just take them, wash them off, you know, and go to town. Read this, I've seen it on the internet. I've experienced it myself. When you pull a potato fresh out of the ground, the skin is very thin and very fragile. So if you rub your thumb on it, even gently sometimes, you can wind up peeling off that protective layer of skin. If you're just going to pull them up out of the ground and go eat them, that's fine, you know, not the end of the world. But if you want to store them for more than, let's say, a few days or a week or whatever, sorry, I thought there was an ant biting me. You lay them out someplace to dry. I think you can even lay them on the ground. Again, I just put them in the greenhouse because I have the wire racks in there. They're not really doing anything. It's about 90 degrees in the greenhouse right now, in the shade. So I think that they will dry in there pretty quickly. And then once that's done, I can then sort through, see if there's any damaged ones, and then keep the rest. Now, I am going to take some of those, probably a few of those, 2, 3, maybe 4, who knows. But I'm going to take some of those potatoes, some of the smaller ones, and I'm going to treat them as seed potatoes. And I'm going to replant them in August, and then we will see what kind of harvest we get come, let's say, November. My freeze isn't until mid to late November here in eastern North Carolina, growing zone 8A. Theoretically, I should be able to get another crop. So I think that's what I'm going to do there, and I'll experiment. Let's get on with the next batch of potatoes. The next variety is Nicola. I'm going to harvest these bags like I did just the Golden Yukon, and then we'll see what we got. All right, there we go. That's 4 bags of the Nicola. I have to say I'm a little disappointed. They all look good, they all look pretty good. But I mean, I see maybe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe really good sized potatoes. The rest of them are very small. I've never grown Nicola before, so first time growing it. A little disappointed in the sizes of potatoes, but I'm sure they're all still edible. I'll eat them all. I'm sure they all taste great, but so far as probably buying them again and growing them again, I don't think I will. I don't think I'm going to save any of these for the fall crop. Yeah, you know, you try things and you see what happens, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Nicolas in your area, in your region, wherever you are, may grow fantastic for you. And maybe they grow better in ground than they do in a bag. For me, I'd have to say I'm pretty unimpressed. I didn't have like one bag that was better than another. They were all pretty much the same. I'd get maybe 2 to 3 good sized ones, and then the rest are very tiny. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm going to clean these up, and we'll do the last ones. So the last 4 bags are the Bintji. I'll put the name here. I can't pronounce this. Bintje. Never grown this variety either before, so we'll see what we get. 4 bags, let's do this. Okay, so all the potatoes are now harvested. The Bintji, however you pronounce that name, I would probably I think I'll buy again and try to grow again. I may even try them set some aside and try for the fall fall harvest. They're not huge potatoes for the most part. There were some big ones, but there are a lot of medium-sized potatoes. I'd say they'd be a good potato for cooking. You know, I mean, it's not something you're gonna do a lot of peeling on, but if you like the mashed potatoes with skins in it kind of thing, I think they're great for that. I got a lot out of those bags. The last couple of bags were very large. I went down to my local nursery, and I forget what size they were. I think 7, 10, 15, who knows. Little on the heavy side, but also I feel that I got a little more potatoes out of them than I did the smaller 5-gallon size. The 5-gallon size were easier to handle. That's you know, upsides, downsides to everything. But I don't think I got quite the same harvest as I did the larger bags. But the larger bags are heavier to lift. So, but yeah, so I'd have to say the winners are Yukon Gold, German Butterball. I think those are old reliables. And I'd say this Bintji. The Nicola was disappointing. Yeah, just a lot of small potatoes. Not very many medium size or very few big ones. But I think the harvest here for these were pretty good. And if, you know, I would grow them for cooking potatoes and maybe grow the Yukon Gold or the German Butterballs for more of, if you're going to make French fries or baked potatoes or something along those lines. All right, so what have I learned this year? Again, I'm no expert, so if you're looking for any sort of advice, really, I'm not the person. I'm still a novice at gardening, but I have learned over the last 3 years some do's and don'ts, and let me just go over a few of those real quick. I'm never going to grow potatoes in a raised bed again, and it's simply because of the insect pressure. And then the biggest issue for me is the fire ants. You can't really keep them out of the raised beds unless you do something like chemicals or maybe something else. I don't know, but I don't think I could ever keep them out of the raised beds. So going forward, it'll always be the bags of potatoes for me. There's no insect damage to any of these potatoes that I can see, and there's obviously no fire ants. I think next year it'll be Yukon Gold, it'll be the German Butterballs, and it'll be the Bingee perhaps. Again, I want to see how they perform during the fall harvest. But right now, those are the varieties I think I'll be moving forward with. And again, I'll grow them in the raised bags, and we'll see what happens next year. If there's a variety that you grow that you think I might be interested in, that maybe, let's say you grow huge potatoes and, a particular type of variety, leave those comments below. Let me know. What potatoes are you growing? Are you growing, again, just the German Butterball and the Yukon Gold, the popular ones? Or are you growing something else weird and strange and something with a weird name like Bingee or Bingee? However you pronounce that. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Sophie here would appreciate it if you check out all the links below. What's that? And you should make sure you're subscribed and click that bell icon to be notified when I do post up a new video. She's adorable. And Sophie would appreciate it if you tell your friends, families, loved ones, grumpy old guy across the street about my channel and all the good things that are happening in it and how I'm growing a garden here in eastern North Carolina. That's it? She says that's it. We're going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.